as horrible as it all was and life gives you these experiences, who I am now are because of all those experiences.
Welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. Before we get started on this episode, I would like to invite you to our community so that you can hear more stories to inspire change within your life and positive change within the systems in which we live. All I want you to do is to click on the subscribe button. Your comments mean the world to us with anything that's resonated with you, and I absolutely love your support. I can't wait to go on this journey alongside you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get into today's episode.
I'd like to say thank you to our partners Wellsprings, who provided us a studio to share these stories. Now, Wellsprings provides opportunities for entrepreneurs and individuals with growing businesses in the Bolton area. Thank you so much for your support. Today, our bite-sized episode is with Farah Rehman.
Hi, my name's Farah Rehman and this is my tale to inspire.
Just as a quick trigger warning, Farah does talk about her personal experiences of overcoming racism and different challenges in her life. Right, Farah, I want to jump in straight into some of the conversations that we've had previously, but being a mum.
Yes.
Tell me about some of the challenges and some of your own personal life experiences that being a mum provided.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, obviously, I know we'll discuss further kind of my journey of becoming a mum, but being a mum in itself is, I think you'll speak to anyone will tell you, it's the most exhausting but rewarding thing you'll ever do. And I think the big thing is you're always just wanting to do better for your children, aren't you? You're always wanting to do like your parents, hopefully, if you're lucky enough, your parents did better by you, you want to do better by them. So I think that's the biggest challenge, always questioning yourself, am I doing right? I'm very lucky, I've got amazing friends around me, and they're all further on in that motherhood journey because it took me a long time to get, my little girl. So it's nice having those around to say to me, it's okay, you're doing all right. Or when I'm quite a calm, patient person, but even the most patient of people can lose their temper. So even in those moments where you think, I've maybe lost my temper, just ringing them, talking to them. So I think, my biggest challenge is just wanting her to have a really safe, secure home where she can grow up and hopefully not have the questions that I had to my parents, and feel like she got everything she needed from me. I know I'm going to make mistakes because everybody makes mistakes. We're only human. But knowing that I can sit there and go, I really genuinely did try my best.
I love that. That's so cool. And being a parent, I'm not a parent at the moment, so I have no idea what that's like. And I can only imagine how challenging, but also how fulfilling it must be.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of that process, though, even before you've had a child, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to have a child and the challenges that brings, the stories don't often get shared of those challenges or miscarriages and stillbirth that happen, all of that, and it's understandable. It's a traumatic event that people don't want to share.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've experienced, either with yourself or with others, that you may have learned during that process?
Oh, absolutely. I was so naive. I'm one of 4. My mum's one of 12. My 2 sisters sniffed and got pregnant. I've got, my elder sister's got 3 kids, my sister's got 2 kids. I thought, I am just going to get married and have a baby. I didn't think for 1 second that A, it wouldn't happen, and then B, I would come across those challenges. And none of my friends had had any form of infertility problems. None of them had ever gone through miscarriage or stillbirth or anything like that. So it was a whole new world to me. And God, I learned so much, met some amazing people, went through some really, really hard times where I never thought I'd get. I am very lucky. I got my happy ending. I have the most beautiful little girl, but I'm very, very aware that there's a lot of families, there's a lot of ladies out there that, that are still in the process or don't get that. But I think it was just learning all about what it takes to have a baby. And I was just very, very naive. And that's why I like talking about it. And I'll share my story with anyone because I didn't know what I was facing or what came with that. The strain on your friendships when your friends are getting pregnant around you, the strain on your relationship, the strain with your family members who are trying to be supportive, but sometimes you want to headbutt them because you're like, stop telling me to just relax and have fun and it'll happen. And, all the crazy cliches. So there's so much that I've learned, but it's definitely, as horrible as it all was and life gives you these experiences, who I am now are because of all those experiences.
Completely get that. And in terms of support on that side of things, like you said, your friends may have been getting pregnant. Your family may not have. They may have said, just relax, you'll be fine. Yeah. Like, what did you do to support yourself during that period of time?
I think at the time, I really didn't. When I was trying for a baby, I just was... the first time I got pregnant took a year and a half. And I just very much kept thinking, I'm quite a positive person anyway. And I was thinking, it'll happen. And then I would have the doubts, but I would just keep going. So the first time I did finally get pregnant, it was just like the best feeling in the world. Like, I've never experienced anything like it. I can remember it now, telling my husband at the time. It was amazing. Ringing my mum, asking her where she was. She was in work. She's a cleaner, my mum. And just driving to her work and then appearing with this pregnancy test. All the things that you dreamed about. And then for me to then start miscarrying and to go for a miscarriage was, well, I didn't know anyone who'd had one. My mum never had, and in itself, with that, I was very, very clinical at the time. Oh, it just happens. I was that little cliche book that I feel like we've been told all for our lives. It's, all the things that I wanted to kill people for. It's just a bunch of cells. It's not even a baby. Absolute rubbish. There is in my opinion, there is a baby there. That baby was conceived. That baby did not survive. But at the time, I was not like that. I was very clinical. And I remember my mum saying to me about losing a baby, and I snapped at her. I said, it wasn't a baby. It wasn't even a baby. And my mum's amazing. And I think she knew that was me just trying to kind of lash out. But because I didn't deal with it, 3 months later, I had a bit of I won't call it like a breakdown as such, but I don't know what else to really call it. Bit of a meltdown. Now, I'm the kind of person that I've always had counselling in the past. I seek help, I read stuff. I'm very much like that. So I've literally just got in touch with a counsellor who helped me work through that. And then that meant when I got pregnant again, and again, there's very hopeful, optimistic, but sadly, my little boy was stillborn. I went into that. I did not shy away from it. I went right into my grief because what I didn't want was to what happened when I had a miscarriage and then 6 months later have a really bad meltdown. So one experience then taught me how to deal with the other, which is where I think then I could then get through that and then move on and try again.
From looking at it from a medical point of view, how did the hospital, the doctors that you came across, how was that process? And is there areas that they could have done better, or did it go really well in terms of the way they supported?
No, with me, it's so interesting. Miscarriage and stillbirth, they're like chalk and cheese, honestly. It's unbelievable. Miscarriage is very, from my experience and talking to other ladies, because I've spoken to, obviously, you meet a lot of people, there is a real lack of care, a real lack of compassion. I appreciate that professionals, it's their job, they can't come down to it. My eldest sister's a nurse, I get it, but the kind of lack of compassion, particularly from the doctors, young female, no understanding. I mean, at one point I had to rein my mum in because I genuinely thought my mum was going to kill this doctor, because this doctor, they're just very much like, well, come in and, this has happened and you wait here. And for me, I had something called a blighted ovum. So your egg and sperm meet, things start to grow, but the fetus never actually develops. Right. So it means you're very bloated. It means you can be pregnant. I was pregnant for 12 weeks, but it wasn't viable. And I remember I was going on holiday and I said to the doctor, well, can I drink? And she said, no, because you've got to behave like you're pregnant. And I was like, but you know that this isn't about pregnancy, and I know it's not about pregnancy, but you're giving me mixed signals. And it was only because I've got two best friends who are midwives. One of them took my chart with my permission to the consultant, and he looked at my chart and said, tell her to go on holiday and drink. This pregnancy will end in a miscarriage. It is not viable. So again, I was fortunate because I could have someone that I could rely on, but there is no compassion. It's very clinical. And I feel awful saying this because I genuinely respect doctors and nurses, but I think in the realm of miscarriage, it's just, well, it happens and it happens to everyone. Stillbirth, completely different experience.
Okay. So what was the stillbirth like?
So went for my scan. Awful. It was in the middle of COVID, so I was in on my own. And then it was my 20-week scan where they said there's no heartbeat. And you're immediately then taken into a side room where a midwife comes and talks. He explains the process. Because again, very naively, I'm thinking I'm just going to experience the same thing as a miscarriage. I'm then told, no, you're going to have to give birth. Well, that's just a mind-blowing. What on earth does that mean? But they taught you through it. I then went to the major hospital, the main hospital near me. And again, welcomed onto, although it's the labour ward, which is really, really harsh, there's a little room called the butterfly room.
Okay.
You go in there, it's made for women who are going to have to give birth to the babies that have already died. And you get a dedicated bereavement midwife specialist. They talk through everything. They explain everything in detail. No question is too much. And you feel really, really supported. They're just two very different experiences. And then you go away for 48 hours and then you have to take medication. You come back to actually have your baby. And again, from the moment you're back and through that whole process of having your baby and what it looks like, very supportive. However, what I will say, the reason I had what I would call, and this sounds so crazy, a lovely experience giving birth to my little boy, is I had a really good friend who'd had to terminate her baby for medical reasons. We'd not spoken in about 7 years, probably longer than that. And the morning after I'd found out my little boy was stillborn, I just messaged her and said, like, can you help me? Because I'm going to have a baby and I don't know what that means or what that looks like. I know that sounds daft because you know how a baby is born, but not a dead baby. And she taught me through everything. And she was the one that said to me, you know, taking photos, taking whatever it is you want. I had I'm raised Catholic, although I don't really practice. I had my rosary beads, as my dad's Islamic beads. I had a Buddha, I had all my crystals. Literally, like, I had most religious denominations, but that's what made me feel better. I took my tuning forks in, cleansed the room before, but all of these things I would never have thought about. You know, I wore a t-shirt from home that I wore most nights that smelled of home for me. That made my experience, because then I made that room my own, and it was thanks to her and her amazing charity. So I would say for anyone going through it, look out there, because it's the experiences, although the midwives were amazing, it was experiences of other ladies that helped me.
Amazing.
So yeah.
I love that. And it's things that I wouldn't have even thought about. What's the name of that charity?
It's called Ellie's Gift, and it's named after a little girl. And that charity is amazing because she works with anybody who has had, she worked miscarriage, stillbirth. Hers was termination for medical reasons. So again, another really different experience that she experienced. But the work that she does around meditation, mindfulness, and again, used her charity a lot when I got pregnant again, because when you get pregnant again after any loss, it's just a completely different experience. So yeah, shout out to them, because without her and without her charity, my experience of giving birth the very first time would have been very different. And it actually set me up for, it was such a lovely experience that I could not wait to give birth again, but to a living baby. So yeah, she was amazing.